The new pressure plate springs came, so they're in. So I just got to torque these down there. You tighten them all a little at a time until they're bottom. Then you torque them to. I'm going to torque them to 8 foot-pounds. These are the old springs. These and the other ones I was pushing, and these ones definitely, the original ones, push a little easier than the new ones. So that may have been the cause of the clutch slippage. May have been the pressure plate springs were weakened. My foot-pound torque wrench wouldn't go down to 8 foot-pounds, so I'm using my inch-pound torque wrench, and I have it set at 106 inch-pounds. And just listen for that little click. So the new clutch is in. I threw the side cover on to keep debris out of the engine. I'm going to take my little Dremel with a little wire wheel and then a little buffing wheel, and I'm going to clean all in the fins all the way around the cylinder and cylinder head. I'm going to clean all the top of this. This is all natural aluminum, and I'm going to clean this up all somewhat. And then I'm going to get this sanded out. I'm going to leave this on because these two bolts hold the two halves of the crankcase together, and I don't want to take a chance on breaking the seal, so I'll just mask this off when I paint the engine. And the paint on that is still really good, so I'll just leave that alone. The next step, like I say, clean this, and then after I get that cleaned up, get everything cleaned up, I'll pull this cover and clean it up and get it ready to paint, get all these seals changed and everything cleaned in here and ready for paint. I have not changed the seal here yet, and I did not put a gasket in between here. I'm just going to leave it. I'll put some masking tape around this edge just so I don't take a chance on getting anything in the engine. And that's why I didn't prime this, because that's going to get oil and crud on it, and I'll clean it with lacquer thinner before I paint it. But I did get a bunch of screws when I was at that motorcycle junkyard around, it's north of here about an hour. And so any of the screw heads that are rounded out or messed up, these are the screws I took out of the engine for this cover, and they're in really good shape. I'm going to buff them up, and then I might just put these ones into paint and then take them out one at a time, put these ones in place of them buffed out. But I am, like I say, I am going to make sure none of the screws have any messed up screw heads on them. If they're messed up, I'll use one of these screws. So that's always a, good when I see people, they go to salvage yards and they take parts off of cars and they just drop the fasteners on the ground and get what they need and go, and then they get home and then they need a fastener and they have to go to the store and buy one or dig around. It's like, just why not save the fasteners as you're taking them out, put them in your toolbox or in a little bag or something, or in your pocket even, and then put them in drawers when you get home. I keep drawers with all the different types of screws, and then when I need an OEM fastener for a car or motorcycle or whatever I'm working on, I can dig through and find the exact correct one. This would look pretty funny when you can see the screws, and if it didn't have the correct screws in it. That is why I always save fasteners. I can't stress that enough. People just don't do that when I see them in salvage yards and parting out cars. They just discard the fasteners, and they're an important thing to keep. A lot of the old cars, they have markings on the fasteners that are specific to certain cars, or from suppliers, I should say, and it's nice when you can put it back together with the original correct stuff. The 175 has unique grips, the 76 model. They have little anti-vibration things that go in there. So this is the grip for this side. And this grip that's my brother put on here, you can kind of see, it doesn't really fit that well. It overhung it a little bit. But I'm going to put the corrector, this is the right side, and then the left side is somewhere in my box of goodies here. So I can have all the correct stuff on it. If I didn't show this, this is the bag of fasteners, and it's got the timing cover, this thing for in the chain area, and this is a little piece of where the, I can't dig it out of there, but for the engine mounting, the snap ring for the oil filter. So, you know, I just got a nice assortment of fasteners or things there if I need them. Did some estate sailing today too. Got a GM Vacuum Advance. It's got the numbers there. Good Advance. Brand new, in fact. A oil filter wrench for lawnmower oil filters and ATV. I think this will work on the quads. And a bunch of sanding discs. Like I say, I always buy this kind of stuff. So that was $2 worth of stuff. Right there. So I did over torque the clutch bolts a little bit. Wasn't thinking. I did my math and it was 96 inch-pounds, but it's supposed to be 8.7 foot-pounds. So in actuality, I think I only over torqued it a few inch-pounds, so I'm not gonna worry about that. Started cleaning up the cylinder using this. My dad got this for me in an estate sale, and it's got a speed and then the switch, and you put it to 1, and let me move the thing so it doesn't, I don't think it'd be good to turn that on with that sitting right there. Let me set it somewhere where it doesn't catch on anything. So 1 click turns the variable speed on, 2 clicks is full, so that's working the variable speed. I was using it at 2, or you can put it to there and it's full RPM. Pretty nice little unit. I like it better than almost the Dremel one I have, and I use those Dremels like all the time, but this thing's doing a good job. I'll show you what I'm doing here, but speaking of estate sale stuff, I gotta show you something else. Yeah, and it was an estate sale find last summer. I think I put it in one of my videos, but I put all my tacky Christmas stuff up and I hung it there next to the Pontiac. I bought that when I had the Catalina. I have a number of viewers that tell me they miss the Catalina. Yeah, I do too, but we'll find something else. So that's one of my tacky things that I put up. I spend most of my time in the garage when I'm home, so needed something in the garage. I put all my tacky stuff up, and keep an eye on my videos if you're into the old tacky vintage Christmas stuff. I'll be doing a video on it, and we'll go through the different type of bulbs and stuff that I use in the old lights. Getting back to this, what I've decided to do to paint it is I'm just going to leave a screw in on each side, no gasket, no new seal. And I'm going to do the same when I get this side apart and cleaned up and get all this cleaned up. This is staying on because I don't want to take these bolts out. They hold the 2 halves of the crankcase together. So I'll just mask this off and I can paint this in here. That's no big deal. And it'll look nice. But the reason what I'm going to do is then after I get it all painted, I'll take these covers back off, put the new seals and the new gaskets on. This is original, and you can see the gasket there. And you can see the covers painted and the blocks painted. So these absolutely were painted disassembled. And I want it to have that same look. So I'm going to paint the engine with the assemblies on, and then I'm going to take the cover off after the fact and put new gaskets, new seals, and I'm going to buff all these screw heads out nice and shiny so it looks absolutely 100% original. Now I was at Lowe's and they have screws that look identical to these in metric in this length and everything that are nice and shiny. They don't have that little mark on them that I showed in the past video. Every one of these screws has a little little dot or H or mark of some type on there. I don't know if it's a manufacturer's mark or a mark to say they're metric or what. They almost look like, I mean, if I really get a good close look, they almost look like a little tiny H. I can't really tell though. So who knows. Anyway, I'm going to get to cleaning the cylinder here. Now I don't want to wreck my camera, so I'm not going to do a lot of cleaning with the camera on, but you can see it goes very, very quickly. And I just have this thing on low, and I'll get a little tiny wheel to get right into those tight spots, but yeah, that's going to look really nice. And I might have to get a different wheel to get right on this lip edge here a little bit, because I hit the crankcase when I get in there. But I'll just go through and get all the whole cooling system like this, and I'll get all down in here and everything. It's going to take probably a couple hours, but I think it'll be worth it at the end of the day. I think it'll look really nice. So you can kind of see here. Where it was really dirty, it really cleans up nice. And I got that wheel running pretty slow, and I'm barely pushing. And it just cleans it right up. So this is going to look nice. Whoops, I was hitting the nut on this part, on the cooling fins. So that's going to look good. Just going to take probably spend the day doing that. I'm putzing with this for about an hour, and I got most of the cylinder done other than pretty much all this part right here and a little bit of this area in here to where I can't get down into the fins with this wire wheel. Just doesn't reach down in there. So what I found, and it works, I did a lot of the cylinder area with it, is this little nylon brush. You know, that'll get down in there where I can clean those. And that, just doing that even kind of makes a difference. But I get a little wire wheel and it'll clean up nice, and just run it slow and gently. It does a nice job of cleaning it off to where it looks like it's the original finish. It's a little shiny spot right there, I think, is where I hit a little hard, but exhaust goes on here, and that's the underside, so it won't be visible. It cleans this up pretty good. And again, once I get a little wire thing, I can get in there. I'm going to be out and about tomorrow, so I'll probably pick up a few of the little wire brushes like this, and maybe another one of this. Now this one was new when I started, and it's not much different. And I've been using it for an hour at least, and it really works nice. I mean, it's just very light, just enough to hold it against the surface, running about 2-3 on the little Dremel thing there. It really does a nice job of cleaning it up. I'm surprised it's cleaning up this easy. I thought that was going to be a lot of work cleaning the fins, and really not that. So far, it really hasn't been that much work. So I think we'll get all the fins cleaned up, and we'll get this all cleaned up, get the stuff painted up. Probably not too long. So I think maybe I'll start thinking about what I'm going to do here. I talked it over. My dad thought maybe if I had it powder coated, if I got new chips in here, it'd be harder to fix it. That's from all the gravel from the gravel roads and where the chloride wasn't washed off. And you see right where the brake line is, where the skid pan was. This is the worst of the whole frame. Up in here is good, and that's just surface. There's no, I could probably sand that out and not even have pits. So I'm thinking I'm going to paint the frame maybe from this weld, or maybe up in here, because the gas tank will hide all this, and I think it'll look fine. You know, maybe mask this off and paint because there's a little surface rust up here, and I can wipe that off with my finger almost. It's so fine. But I might paint it back to here. You don't see any of this. Like I say, it's under the gas tank and under covers. Mask it around here. Because that paint's original and it's nice. And that's nice and original. You can see a little, that white stuff in there is wax. And I can take a brush and get that all out of the welds and clean that up. Maybe what I'll do is if I do just paint parts of the frame that need it, I'll buff the rest lightly and then clean all the wax out of the welds. And I think the frame will look pretty nice and still retain most of its originality. Clean all this stuff out and clean the airbox up. The airbox the paint's in really nice shape on it. I mean, where the toolkit went in there, that you don't see it, and I think I'll leave that alone because of the decal. But I am going to take the airbox off and clean it. I think it'll look like brand new once it's cleaned. So there's very little paint work that needs to be done on the frame. The hubs, they just need a little polishing up, and the chrome needs a little polishing. And I'll repaint these two parts here. They were kind of a matte or satin black, and paint those, the things. And I'll take the handlebars off, take everything off of them, polish them up really good. There is a little, you can see a little bits of, and the surface rust or look on there rubs off with my finger, and where I hit the gas cap looked worse than that, and where I hit it with some chrome polish, it really looks good. It'll polish up just fine. And like I say, I got those things and the grips. I think it's going to look good. And the rear fender has a rivet missing and a rivet loose. So I'm going to take the rear fender off so I can tighten that rivet. And I think why this rivet, if I can pop it the rest of the way out, I'm going to try and find something that looks like that. And that one needs tightening. So if I find like a screw I can grind the head down to look like that, and a little washer, I can put it in and then peen it over on the other side with this. Put this against an anvil and then just peen it over with a punch and a hammer on the other side, and so it looks original again. It may not be an original rivet in there, but it'll look original, and that'll be a good source to kind of use to take with me to go to the hardware to find something that I can make to do that. And I'm going to change the headlight bucket and put the one without the hole for that switch and the tape. And I might try and take the speedometer apart. I got another speedometer, but I think this one's in better shape. Take it off and see if I can take it apart and replace that piece that's broken off there. Just want to show this. I've been sandblasting on the exhaust pipe, and this was about the worst part, was just this to about here. A lot of this is still the original paint here. See where this bracket was? I sandblasted it off there because there's some rust underneath the bracket. The rest of that is all the original finish. That's where that guard was. But I think it'll clean up nice. I'm going to finish sandblasting all this rust out, or glass bead blasting I should say, in there, and I'll give it a good sanding to smooth some of those pits off. In fact, maybe I'll just stop right now. It's pretty cleaned up with the sandblaster or glass bead cabinet, and I'll start with maybe some 80 grit, sand this, try and smooth it out. This is, the original paint was still on here too, that's why there's very little pits there, but it's amazing it still has the original paint on the exhaust there still. The exhaust pipe cleaned up pretty good. I mean, there's pits in it, but that's not rust, that's just where it's been the surface sandblasted. The white is kind of where the pits are, and where I've sanded it is where it's darker. I took some sandpaper and tried to sand it a little smoother. I did find a new one of these And the guy wanted $500, brand new. And it's like, what is he thinking? You know, I mean, come on. $500 for that? Brand new? There's nothing wrong with this one other than the pits. It's good thick steel. It'll probably never ever rot out. So I'll just clean it up and paint it. Use high heat black enamel. It was originally black, like a flat black or satin black. So I'll repaint that and it'll look fine. I mean, I plan on riding this. I mean, anyone that's going to spend $500 on this, I think they need their head examined first. And, you know, maybe if they have money to throw away and they're restoring a bike for a museum that'll never be started again. Okay, maybe, just slightly maybe, but probably no. But I plan on riding this, so I'm not going to go overboard. I've done these videos over, this video is over 2 or 3 days, so if I'm repeating myself, sorry, I might not remember what I said a day or 2 or 3 ago. So again, if you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.